I was just cleaning the house that afternoon. Nothing unusual. The same routine I'd followed since we moved into that quiet suburban home 6 years ago. The soft hum of the vacuum filled the air, mixed with the faint scent of pine polish. I remember how the sunlight streamed through the living room window, casting golden lines on the carpet. Everything felt perfectly ordinary, until it didn't. While dusting the bookshelf, my hand brushed against the back panel. It moved, just slightly. I froze. I pressed again, harder this time, and the wood gave way with a soft click. A hidden drawer slid open. Inside there was a small black diary, its corners worn, as if someone had handled it often. And beside it, photographs. Of me. I felt the air thicken as I picked up the first photo. Me in the kitchen, cooking dinner. The next, me asleep. Another taken through the bathroom door, slightly ajar. My heart began pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. Every photo was from inside this house. Someone had been watching me, recording my life when I thought I was alone. With trembling hands, I opened the diary. The handwriting was instantly familiar. Neat, controlled, unmistakably my husband's. Stage 1, complete. That was the first line on the page. Beneath it, notes. Cold, methodical notes about me. My habits, my routines, the times I left the house, the routes I took to the market, how long I spent in the shower, even the way I laughed, high-pitched, nervous when lying, he'd written. I dropped the book, my body trembling. The words blurred as tears stung my eyes. For a second, I thought maybe it was some kind of sick joke. Maybe Daniel, my husband, was planning a surprise, some kind of elaborate prank or research for his crime novel. But deep down, something colder whispered that this was real. I picked the diary up again and flipped the page. Stage 2, emotional isolation. Reduce her calls to family. Subtle gaslighting. Encourage dependency. The room spun. I could hardly breathe. Every memory from the past few months began replaying in my head. The small arguments, the way he'd convinced me to quit my job, the times he accidentally deleted messages from my sister, saying my phone glitched. Stage 2, complete. I stumbled backward, nearly knocking over the lamp. The sound of the front door unlocking jolted me. He was home early. My pulse raced. I slammed the drawer shut and pushed the shelf back into place, just as Daniel stepped in, smiling, his keys jingling in his hand. "Hey, honey," he said softly, that familiar warmth in his voice. "You look pale. Everything all right?" I forced a smile. Yeah. Just cleaning. Got a bit dizzy." He set down his briefcase and walked closer. His hands reached out, brushing a strand of hair from my face. Normally that gesture would comfort me, but now it made my skin crawl. His touch felt rehearsed, calculated. "Maybe you should lie down," he said, his eyes searching mine. "You've been working too hard lately." I nodded, pretending to agree, pretending not to shake. But inside, I was screaming. That night, as I lay beside him, I stared at the ceiling, unable to sleep. His steady breathing next to me was no longer comforting. It was the sound of danger. I knew I couldn't confront him. Not yet. I needed to know more. When he finally drifted off, I crept out of bed, heart pounding, and tiptoed to his study. I had to find out what stage 3 was before he did. The night after I found Daniel's diary felt endless, like the walls of the house had stretched and folded in on me. Every breath I took sounded too loud, too suspicious, as if the air itself might betray me. I couldn't sleep, not with those words echoing through my mind. Stage 1, complete. What did that mean? How many stages were there? And how close was he to the last one? I lay beside him, listening to the calm rhythm of his breathing, trying to decide whether he was truly asleep or just pretending like I was. My heart pounded so violently I thought he might feel it against his arm. When I couldn't take it anymore, I slipped out of bed, each step cautious, deliberate, silent. The hallway light had a faint flicker that painted the shadows in uneven stripes. Daniel's study door stood slightly open, something he never did. He was meticulous, almost obsessive about order, about everything being where he left it. My instincts screamed not to go in, but curiosity and fear overpowered the voice of reason. Inside, the room smelled of whiskey and wood polish. His laptop screen was still glowing faintly, bathing the desk in cold light. I sat down, and my reflection on the screen looked pale and hollow, like a stranger's face staring back. The computer wasn't locked. My fingers hesitated before clicking through his folders. He had files neatly categorized: finances, work documents, travel itineraries. But one stood out like a dark secret bleeding through the digital order. A folder titled Blueprint. I opened it and found several text files, all named after stages. Stage 1, Stage 2, Stage 3. My pulse quickened as I clicked open the last one. The words were short, sharp, clinical, yet they carried a chill that made my body freeze. Stage 3, Public sympathy. Objective. Discredit her. Control the narrative. She must appear unbalanced. Create witnesses. Prepare alibi for accident. I scrolled further, reading faster as my throat closed in horror. He had written about how to subtly convince my friends I was unstable. Mention forgetfulness, emotional outbursts, episodes. He had been planting stories for months, twisting innocent moments into patterns of madness. My doctor's prescription for sleeping pills, which Daniel had encouraged, now looked like part of his performance. Medication as evidence of my supposed mental instability. The next section chilled me further. Stage 4. Execution, weather dependent. Preferred location, cabin by the lake. I remembered him mentioning that cabin, how he said he booked it for us as a romantic weekend, a way to reconnect. I had felt touched at the time, even guilty for suspecting him of being distant. But now I realized it was never about love or reconnection. It was about isolation. That cabin was miles from the nearest town, surrounded by woods and water. The perfect setting for an accident. I felt dizzy, gripping the desk for support. Then came the sound that made my blood run cold. Footsteps in the hallway. Slow, steady, unmistakably his. I shut the laptop, killing the light, and turned in the darkness just as the door creaked open. His silhouette stood there, broad shoulders filling the doorway, voice low and smooth. "You're up late," he said, and I could hear suspicion laced beneath the softness. "I couldn't sleep," I murmured, forcing calm. "I came for a glass of water." He leaned against the frame, studying me for a moment too long before smiling faintly. "In my study?" My lips curved in a nervous laugh. "You left your laptop on. I thought I'd turn it off before it overheated." He chuckled, stepping closer, and I could smell the faint trace of whiskey on his breath. "You worry too much," he said, brushing a strand of hair from my face. "Come back to bed. Big day tomorrow." Big day tomorrow. The words struck like a warning disguised as casual talk. I nodded, pretending not to notice the way his eyes lingered a moment longer before he turned away. When I finally lay back beside him, I stared into the darkness for hours. Every sound, the ticking clock, the rustle of sheets, felt sinister. I thought about running, about calling someone. But where could I go? If he really had set this up so carefully, I might already look like the unstable one. No one would believe me if he painted me as paranoid. He was charming, intelligent, respected. I was just the emotional wife. By morning, I decided to play along until I figured out how deep this went. I smiled at him over breakfast, made coffee, even kissed him goodbye before he left for work. The act felt grotesque, pretending normalcy while every part of me screamed in silent terror. The moment he was gone, I locked the door, pulled the diary from its hiding place, and took photos of every page. Then I called the only person I trusted, Claire, my best friend since university. My voice shook as I spoke. "Claire, I need to tell you something, but you have to promise not to freak out." Her tone sharpened instantly. "What happened?" I told her everything. The secret drawer, the diary, the notes about me, and the trip to the cabin. When I finished, she was silent for a few seconds that felt like forever. "You need to leave," she said firmly. "Right now. Take the diary, take your passport, and get out." "I can't," I whispered. "If he realizes I know, he'll speed things up. I need to catch him in the act. I need proof that can't be denied." "That's too dangerous," she said. "You're not dealing with a normal man." I laughed bitterly. "I know. I married a stranger." That evening, when Daniel came home, I could feel his eyes scanning me as though testing if I had found something. I forced myself to stay composed, to act like nothing had changed. But I noticed something, a subtle shift in him. He seemed calmer, more deliberate. He asked how my day was, kissed me gently, and cooked dinner. He was the perfect husband again. But now that I'd seen behind the mask, every word sounded rehearsed, every touch calculated. When he reached for my hand across the table, his eyes met mine with unsettling calm. "You trust me, don't you?" he asked softly. I smiled. "Of course." Inside, my thoughts screamed otherwise. That night, when he finally fell asleep, I turned to face him in the dim light. His expression was peaceful, almost boyish, the same face that once made me believe in forever. But now all I saw was a stranger planning my death. I wanted to cry, but I held it in. Because now, more than ever, I knew the only way to survive was to pretend, and pretending, I realized, was exactly what he never expected me to do. The week leading up to the cabin trip passed like walking across thin ice. One wrong step, and everything could shatter. I lived each day behind an invisible mask, pretending to be the devoted wife while my mind was constantly racing, calculating, waiting for his next move. Daniel had started packing early, humming softly around the house, checking the weather like a man planning a casual holiday instead of a murder. I could feel the chill behind his smile when he said, "The forecast says it might rain. Perfect for a quiet weekend, don't you think?" My heart sank, because I remembered his notes. Stage 4, execution, weather dependent. Rain would cover sounds, wash away traces, make everything look accidental. I spent nights memorizing every corner of the diary and saving the pictures I'd taken to a hidden drive. But the fear grew heavier with each passing hour, settling in my stomach like lead. I didn't know how far he was willing to go, or when he'd strike, but I knew he believed his plan was flawless. So, I made one of my own. I told Claire everything. The date of the trip, the location of the cabin, the code word we'd use if I messaged her in danger. She wanted to come to the police, but I begged her to wait until I sent proof. I didn't want suspicion. I wanted undeniable evidence that would end this nightmare forever. Friday morning arrived with a deceptive calm. The sun shone brightly, mocking the storm brewing inside me. Daniel loaded the car while I stood by the door, pretending to check my phone. He kissed my cheek, his lips cold and mechanical. "You ready for a little peace and quiet?" he asked, and I smiled weakly, more than ever. I whispered, though peace was the last thing I expected to find. The drive felt endless. Trees blurred past, tall and dark, like silent witnesses to a story they'd seen too many times. He talked casually about work, about maybe buying a new property, and I nodded along while gripping the seatbelt so tightly my knuckles turned white. Every word he spoke felt double-edged, every glance a test. When the radio played a love song, he reached for my hand, and I let him, hiding the tremor that ran through me. Somewhere between miles of deserted road and fading signal, I realized how truly alone we were. The isolation he had chosen wasn't random. It was strategic. No one would hear a scream here. The cabin appeared just before sunset. A quaint wooden structure wrapped in ivy, sitting quietly by a still lake that mirrored the blood-orange sky. It could have been beautiful under other circumstances, but all I saw was a stage built for my disappearance. He unlocked the door, dropped the bags, and said cheerfully, "Smells like old wood and freedom." I pretended to laugh. Inside, it was small but tidy, with a fireplace, a single bedroom, and large windows facing the lake. The air smelled faintly of pine and dampness. My eyes swept the room, searching for exits, sharp objects, or anything that could give me an advantage. Dinner was uneventful, though I barely ate. Daniel poured wine, toasting to fresh starts and clean slates. I raised my glass, feeling the irony burn in my throat. Afterward, he suggested we walk by the lake. The night was cold, and the surface of the water shimmered under the moonlight. As we stood there, he slipped his arm around me, his touch deceptively gentle. "You know," he said, voice soft, "it's strange how life works. You think you know someone completely, until one day you don't." I stiffened slightly, forcing a laugh. That's deep for vacation talk. He smiled, but his eyes didn't match the warmth of his tone. "Just thinking out loud." When we returned, I excused myself to the bathroom, locking the door behind me and staring at my reflection. My face looked drained, eyes rimmed with exhaustion and fear. I splashed cold water and whispered to myself, "Stay calm, stay smart." Then I noticed something strange, a small red dot blinking faintly near the ceiling corner. I climbed onto the sink to get a closer look. A hidden camera, perfectly positioned to see the shower and mirror. My stomach twisted in disgust. This wasn't just a murder plan. He wanted documentation. I walked out, pretending not to have seen it, and he was sitting by the fire, flipping through his phone. The glow illuminated his face, serene and calculated. "Everything okay?" he asked, glancing up. "Yeah," I replied, forcing a smile. "Just tired. Long drive." He stood, stretching casually. "Then rest. Tomorrow's going to be memorable." I froze at his choice of words. He kissed my forehead before walking toward the bedroom. The sound of his footsteps echoed in my ears long after he'd gone. I waited a few minutes before slipping outside, careful not to let the door creak. The woods were silent, except for the rustle of wind through the leaves. I called Claire, but there was no signal. I tried again, moving closer to the water. Still nothing. The isolation was complete. As I turned back toward the cabin, something caught my eye. A small metal glint by the edge of the dock. I approached slowly and found a heavy anchor rope coiled beside a large black duffel bag. The bag was half-zipped. Inside I saw duct tape, a small shovel, and what looked like a tarp. My body went cold. There was no more doubt, no more pretending it might be a misunderstanding. Daniel had prepared everything. My name, my story, my ending, all planned out in the pages of that cursed diary. I dragged the zipper back down and stepped away, trying to breathe quietly. Then a voice came from behind me, calm and terrifying. "Couldn't sleep either?" I turned, my pulse racing. Daniel stood a few feet away, hands in his pockets, smile faint under the moonlight. "I just needed air," I said, hoping my voice didn't betray me. He took a slow step closer. "You always did like fresh air." Another step. "You've been tense lately. Is something wrong?" My mind scrambled for words. "Just nerves, that's all." He tilted his head. studying me with quiet amusement. And for a brief second, I saw the man I'd once loved, the man who made me laugh, who brought me flowers, who promised forever. But that man was gone, buried under whatever darkness had taken root inside him. He finally smiled and turned toward the cabin. "Get some rest," he said softly. "Big day tomorrow." I watched him disappear into the shadows and stood there trembling until my legs gave way. I knew then that I would not survive another day if I did not turn his own plan against him. Tomorrow would indeed be a big day, but not in the way he expected. The rain outside hadn't stopped for 2 days. It beat against the windows like a relentless reminder of the storm brewing inside me. Every time thunder rolled, my heart clenched tighter, and every creak of the house made me jolt. I was trapped in a home that no longer felt like mine, sharing walls with a man who had planned my death in stages. And now, I was done being the victim. I had spent the last 2 days pretending everything was normal, smiling when he spoke, cooking his favorite meals, even laughing at his jokes. It was exhausting, like performing for an audience that didn't know the actor was plotting revenge. But the act was necessary. I couldn't let him see that I knew. Not yet. The diary was now hidden in a hollow section of the attic wall, wrapped in plastic, just in case he searched the house. I'd already copied some of the entries into my phone, disguised as random grocery lists. Each note was a breadcrumb of truth, my only ally in this deadly charade. That night, when Daniel returned from work, he was unusually calm. Too calm. He greeted me with a kiss on the cheek, something he hadn't done in weeks. His eyes were soft, almost tender, and for a fleeting moment, I questioned myself. Maybe there was an explanation. Maybe I had misunderstood everything. But then I remembered the photos, the handwriting, and the words. Stage 3. Execution. "Rough day?" I asked, feigning care as I poured him a glass of wine. He smiled faintly. "You could say that, but it's almost over." Those words sent a chill through my spine. Almost over. He sat at the table, scrolling through his phone while I stirred the soup. I could feel his eyes flick up every now and then, studying me. I forced my hands to stay steady, though the ladle trembled slightly. Every movement felt like walking on thin ice. Then, casually, he said, "You know, I've been thinking. We should take a trip. Just the two of us. Somewhere quiet. Somewhere peaceful." My hand froze midair. He noticed. "Come on, you love surprises," he teased with a grin. I smiled back weakly, but inside, panic raced through me. A trip meant isolation, a place where no one could hear me scream. The perfect setting for stage 3. "Sure," I managed to say. "That sounds wonderful." He raised his glass. "To us." I clinked mine against his, forcing a smile as the rim touched my trembling lip. Later that night, I waited until he fell asleep before sneaking into the study. My fingers shook as I opened his laptop, praying he hadn't changed the password. He hadn't. Within minutes, I was scrolling through his emails until one caught my eye. Subject: Final payment confirmed. Message: Disposal scheduled. Ensure no witnesses. My blood ran cold. It was dated for the weekend, the same weekend he planned our little trip. The sound of a floorboard creaking behind me made me spin around. Daniel stood in the doorway, half in shadow, eyes gleaming like a predator catching his prey. "Couldn't sleep?" he asked, his tone light but his stare cutting through me. I was just checking something for work," I stammered, slamming the laptop shut. He stepped closer, his lips curling into a faint smile. "At 2 a.m? I forced a laugh. "Deadlines." For a moment, he just stood there, studying me. Then he shrugged and turned toward the kitchen. "You should get some rest. We've got a big weekend ahead." I didn't sleep that night. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at him as he breathed steadily beside me. My mind was spinning, piecing together everything: the diary, the emails, the trip. I wasn't going to let him finish what he started. The next day, I contacted an old friend, Rachel, a police officer I hadn't spoken to in years. I couldn't tell her everything over the phone, but I managed to say enough to make her listen. She told me to stay calm and keep collecting proof. They needed hard evidence before taking action. But time wasn't on my side. By Friday morning, Daniel was cheerful, packing the car with suitcases and snacks as if we were going on a romantic getaway. I played along, even dressing up in the floral dress he once said made me look innocent. How ironic. As we drove into the countryside, the city lights faded behind us, replaced by empty fields and whispering trees. The silence in the car was deafening. Every time I looked at him, I saw a stranger. A man who once promised forever, now plotting the end of it. We stopped at a remote cabin near a lake. It was eerily beautiful, secluded, quiet, deadly. He opened the trunk and said, "Why don't you freshen up? I'll get the fire started." The moment I stepped inside, I scanned the room. One door. No neighbors in sight. A single window facing the lake. My pulse pounded. This was it. I slipped my phone from my bag and texted Rachel my location. Then, as I turned to find an escape plan, I saw something glint under the couch. A knife, wrapped in cloth. My heart skipped, and then I heard his footsteps behind me. "Looking for something?" he asked softly. I turned slowly, forcing my expression into one of calm curiosity. "Just admiring the place." He smiled, stepping closer until the space between us was almost gone. His voice dropped to a whisper. "You've been busy lately, snooping through my things, reading what you shouldn't." My throat tightened. "I don't know what you mean." His smile vanished. "Don't lie to me, Emma." That was the first time he'd used my name like that. Sharp, cold, final. And in that moment, I realized the mask had fully cracked. The man I loved was gone. What stood before me was the executioner. And I knew if I didn't act now, I wouldn't live to see the morning. The storm outside was a mirror of what raged inside me. Thunder rolled through the dark forest, and flashes of lightning carved Daniel S.'s silhouette into the cabin wall, like a ghost come to life. He stood in front of the fireplace, calm and deliberate, as if this moment had been rehearsed in his twisted mind for months. The diary lay open on the table between us, his handwriting slanted, obsessive and meticulous. The last entry glared at me like a prophecy. Stage 5, the ending. I didn't move, didn't breathe. I could feel every beat of my heart hammering in my chest. My mind was a blur of disbelief and fury. I had loved this man. I had trusted him with my life. And now, I was standing in the middle of his carefully constructed theater of death, where I was meant to be the final act. Daniel looked at me, his face softening with something almost like affection. "You were never supposed to see that diary, Emma," he said in a voice that was calm. Too calm. "You've always been too curious for your own good." I took a step back, my hands trembling though I tried to hide it. "You wrote Stage 5, I whispered. "You planned every single thing, the poison, the photos, the insurance policy. Why, Daniel? Why me?" He exhaled deeply, almost regretfully. "Because you were perfect," he said. "You were kind, trusting, and beautiful. You believed every word I said. You made me look good. But stories like ours don't end with happiness, Emma. They end with tragedy. That's what makes them timeless." His words felt like poison themselves. Slow, deliberate, cruel. "You killed before, didn't you?" I said, forcing my voice to steady. "The woman in the photo. The one you said was your sister." Daniel's expression hardened, and for the first time, I saw it clearly. The monster beneath the charm. She was the first draft, he said coldly. But you, Emma, you were the masterpiece. The candlelight flickered between us, throwing long shadows across the walls. I spotted my phone near the edge of the table, hidden behind the diary. Rachel's last message flashed on the screen faintly. "We're tracking your location. Stall him." I swallowed hard, forcing my mind to think clearly. I couldn't let him know help was coming. I needed to buy time. "You want tragedy?" I said slowly. "Then why not write it together? Let's finish it. Your way." He studied me carefully, intrigued. His ego, as always, got the better of him. "You'd help me finish it?" I nodded faintly, taking a slow step forward. "But not here. It should end where it began, in our story's first chapter. The lake house." He smirked. "You remember?" "Of course," I said softly. "It's where you said you fell in love with me." For a moment, he was lost in the memory, eyes softening again. That was all I needed. My hand darted toward the table, grabbing the phone and slipping it into my pocket as I turned toward the door. "Let's go, Daniel. Let's finish it." The drive through the forest was silent, except for the steady drumming of rain against the car roof. I kept my gaze on the trees, counting seconds, praying Rachel's team would get there in time. Daniel hummed softly, the same tune he used to whistle while cooking dinner. Now it sounded sinister, like a funeral march. When we arrived at the lake house, lightning illuminated the still water. The reflection of the cabin windows glowed eerily across the surface. Inside, everything was just as we left it years ago, except for the layer of dust that now coated our once perfect home. He set the diary on the table and turned to me, his eyes gleaming. "You know what I love about endings?" he murmured. "They always come full circle." I stood near the old bookshelf, my hand brushing against the metal poker from the fireplace. My pulse quickened, but I stayed still, waiting. He walked toward me, his steps slow and deliberate. "Do you remember what I told you on our wedding night?" he said. "That I would love you until death?" I met his gaze. "I remember." He smiled faintly. "I meant it." He lunged. I swung the poker with every ounce of strength I had. The metal connected with a sickening crack, and he staggered back, fury twisting his features. He charged again, knocking me to the ground, the poker flying from my grasp. His hands wrapped around my neck, pressing hard, and black spots filled my vision. But then, sirens. Faint at first, then louder. Daniel froze. For a moment, his grip loosened just enough. I grabbed the heavy lamp from the floor and smashed it against his head. He collapsed beside me, motionless. The front door burst open, shouts filled the air, and flashing red lights washed over the room. I crawled backward, coughing violently as Rachel rushed to my side. "It's over, Emma," she said firmly, pulling me away from his body. "You did it." I looked at Daniel's lifeless form, his face still twisted in disbelief. In the chaos, his diary had fallen open one last time. Across the final page, smeared with blood and ink, was written, "Stage 5, Death." But beneath it, in my trembling handwriting, I added my own line, a rewrite. Stage 6, Freedom. As dawn broke over the lake, the storm began to fade. The air smelled of rain and ash, and for the first time in years, I felt something like peace. I wasn't just a survivor of his story anymore. I was the author of my own.